As the leader of the Booner Pad, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to the Crunch Time Sports Show with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It is Monday, March 30th, and we are back. Dan Campbell spoke at the owners' meeting. No Brad Holmes at the owners' meeting, which, is unfortunate. But you know what? That's why you should go watch the Brad Holmes interview on Lions Collective. But we have a lot of things for Dan
make sure you go watch it.
Today.
Click the link.
We have a lot of things that came out today that we're going to be going through and talking about. It's Mock Draft Monday as well. We have our 7.0 mock draft for the Detroit Lions. Rod Wood mentioned why the Lions have not gotten a top of the market edge, and we'll talk about that later in the show and kind of clarify where the Lions are going in that realm. But it was a great weekend for, you had a lot of sports on in general, which we talked about, but March Madness, you got Michigan, Final Four. Okay, you got UConn taking down Duke off a 30-footer. Plus, this guy, I don't know who, Braylon, which, by the way, named after Braylon Edwards.
Braylon Mullins.
As well. So, shout out to Braylon Edwards. I guess Braylon Mullins' dad is a Michigan fan. So, Braylon Edwards' influence is still happening. Game winners in the March Madness tournament because of Braylon Edwards. But, what a game, man. I watched that yesterday. Actually, you know what I watched yesterday? I watched Wedding Crashers. Great movie. I saw that. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I wanted to watch that.
You know what I watched yesterday? What movie I watched? Toy Story 4.
Wow.
It's a throwback, huh?
But before we turned on the movie, I was watching the UConn Duke game, and it was
you texted me and you were like, UConn is like, you're like, Dan Hurley is incredible, which he is. A lot of people hate him, and it's no surprise to our own, like Lukas Klotz, Dan Hurley hater. And you know what's crazy? I love Klotz, and I think you can agree with me on this. I love Klotz to death. Klotz, I hope you're watching. Klotz's reason for hating Dan Hurley is because of a reason basically of Lukas Klotz. Lukas Klotz might be one of the most cocky people I've ever met in my life. And he's like, I hate Dan Hurley because he's cocky. That's you. That's you, dude. I was like, what are you talking about, man? So I just like,
the irony of that.
Yeah. I was like, dude, you hate yourself if that's what you're saying. Like, I like it, dude. I respect Dan Hurley. Shout out Michigan too, by the way.
And then he named
Final Four.
He named two coaches that he likes that
Dan Hurley.
Just as
he's like Rick Pitino. Hey bud, have you seen Rick Pitino when he was younger? Rick Pitino just screamed. He's an Italian guy that just yells at everyone. Like, what are we doing here? Who was the other coach?
Tom Izzo.
Oh yeah, Tom Izzo will rip into people and refs. He's known for yelling at refs.
Yeah, I don't know the irony of that, but yeah, Dan Hurley's a hell of a coach. That game was incredible. Duke was in control of it. All they had to do was hold on to the ball. That's
what I said. I tweeted out. I said literally there was 10 seconds on the clock. You don't even have to cross half court. That's 10 seconds to cross half court. You can just literally hold, like the older or the taller Boozer brother, just hold the ball, dude. Don't even give it to your brother. Just hold on to it and just they either have to foul or game's over. And shame on John Shire too. I'm not gonna say he should be fired, but like, dude, you have a timeout. Call a timeout, bud. Or what are you doing? If you notice you're like, it's insane. But and by the way, I just want to shout out to Michigan, bro. Like, first Final Four since 2018. Dusty May has done an incredible job the last 2 years, and I think honestly, I was talking to someone about this the other day when this all or yesterday when they went to clinch the Final Four. It just sucks that they have to play Arizona on Saturday, because I think the two best teams in the country is Arizona and Michigan. So essentially Saturday is the national championship game. So it's disappointing, but you know what? You win Saturday and you're probably a pretty big favorite to win the national championship on Monday. So get the job done and good to go, man. I'm pumped up. I can't wait. And by the way, I'll tell the people now, like I texted the boys this morning. I said, if Michigan's in the national championship game, we're not doing a show. and we're going to where we do our live shows, and we're doing a stream, because the last time Michigan won a national championship, we were live, and then I was able to do champagne showers and cigar. Oh, it was one of the greatest days of my life. So I'm hoping to run that back with the boys next Monday.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think it's great content. I mean, I don't imagine everybody will be watching that game. So
yeah,
it'd be disrespectful.
Gotta win Saturday, though. Come on, man.
It'd be disrespectful during our time slot to talk sports while Michigan's in the national championship game. So, we'll definitely be covering it. Saturday will be a great game. Arizona looks incredible. So does Michigan. So, like, that game is going to be awesome. I can't wait. But I will say, so we had March Madness, and today, of course, owners meeting stuff happening. You know, everyone's down in Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, and Dan Campbell's down. You see Dan Campbell's new haircut, by the way? Guy's slicking the hair.
Yeah, back. Dude, how do you feel about the haircut?
He's got the hair. He's got the hair slicked back. I think it's.
How do you feel about that?
You know what it is, though? Like, if you're Dan Campbell or any NFL head coach, or I mean, even GM, as much as you're in front of the media, like, you can't get away with a hair change. Like, they're going to catch you. Like,
no, it was instant. He like shaved the sides. He just has. He's got the Peaky Blinder hair, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. He's. You know what? He's. It's like a subtle. It's like a subtle. Slick back. You know what?
I just want the either Dan, do the long curly hair that you had when you first joined, or give yourself a nice buzz cut that you usually do. But I don't know if I can handle the Peaky Blinders Dan Campbell. I feel like he's going through a midlife crisis, and it's giving me like a midlife crisis, to be honest.
Yeah, he had people were talking about MCDC Corleone. I mean, Easy. Shout out Easy, man. He's in the chat. He says, hate his cut, but love you boys, man. We love you too, Easy.
Shout out Easy. Love Easy. Yeah, I'm with Easy, though. I'm not a big fan of it.
Not a fan of
What's crazy is we saw him at the combine. He did not have that. So he must have just been like deciding, like, I'm going to grow this thing out, man.
Well, he wears a hat 90% of the time. So
he needs to get a cut. If I see him in person over the next few months, I'm going to say, hey, Dan. As a man of the people, I'm telling you, we all have came together. We got to stick up with the times here, man. You need a haircut. And I mean, I don't have the worst or the best hair, but
you know, he's got the thing that isn't going anywhere is the signature Dan Campbell goatee.
The goatee. Oh,
yeah, it'll never
come
go.
on now.
It's part of his identity. So shout out to Dan Campbell. But he spoke on a bunch of things. Penei Sewell playing left tackle, Taylor Decker, which we haven't gotten a chance to really talk about the Taylor Decker stuff, because shout out to Justin Rogers. And he actually told us last week he was going down to Arizona to meet with Taylor Decker. So I didn't know what they were.
He told us. Yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't know what he would talk about, but
no one told me he was going to Arizona.
We kind of found out everything through the bunch of articles, and you can go read his at Detroit Football Network. But Taylor Decker was kind of like, he was throwing some shit. He was throwing some shade at the Lions, man. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he's completely wrong. So we'll get to that later. Of course, Terrion Arnold situation, the defense. He spoke about a bunch of stuff. But first, I want to start with the Penei Sewell stuff, because that's the biggest news. I think just looking at the offensive line for the season, Larry Borum, he's mainly a right tackle. A lot of people assumed Penei Sewell's going to play left tackle. And now we kind of have our answer to that question, at least Dan's insight on that. So let me get this clip so people can see, and then we'll play it. This is actually from his Tim Twentyman interview. He sat down with Tim Twentyman and spoke. If I can find this thing right here. Okay, let's listen to Dan Campbell on the Penei Sewell.
We could move Penei today, and and. He just give me a day or two, he'll be working it over there. Wherever he's at right now, after he's done training, he'll be working I'm going left. I'm going to start working my left-handed stance, some of these things. So we can do that at the drop of a hat.
Well, I think they've already spoken. It sounds like, at least to some extent, with Penei.
Yeah, there's another.
Go ahead.
I would say there's another clip that we posted about him talking about it, and he did say that he talked to Penei, and Penei was like, "Yeah, I'm I'm good to go. Like, give me a couple days. I'm going to be locked in and ready to roll." Like
here's that clip. I'll play that one. Actually, this is a longer one, the more detailed clip. Let's play this one.
We're ready to do that if need be. I don't want to say that and right now I'm going to commit to that, but we're ready to do that. And all he wants is a couple of days to work his left-handed stance a little bit. It's a little bit like riding a bike for him. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll bank some reps and be able to do it. But he gives us that flexibility. If you're asking me, I'd like to move him. I would. I'd like to move him to left.
How nice is it having a player that gives you that kind of flexibility, no matter what you bring in the other side? He can do that.
It's big. You don't get that everywhere with every player, but it also shows how special he is. And he's done it because he's done that before. He's played left before. Hell, his first year here with us, when Decker went down, he played left. He, as a rookie, he banked real reps against real guys at left tackle and adapted just, and he goes to right. And I know it's been years, but yeah, there'll be a little rust maybe at first. He's going to be fine. The guy's phenomenal, and he's going to work on it until he gets it the way he wants it, to where it feels like the right side. Why is that position? Yeah, I think sometimes I would say it's not the most important thing. Like, the backside of your quarterback, he plays so much right and left-handed. Not everything is right-handed, but I do think just knowing that Sewell's back there, what Decker's been able to do for all those years, you see some of those where he's able to anchor, and golf is kind of their back-to-back. And he makes those throws. He steps up. There's a security blanket there subconsciously. And I just think that's to know who's back there and to feel like, okay, even if I feel that back, or I'm good. I just think it brings a little extra security. And most of the time, if it doesn't go that way, at least you know where it's coming from, or you can feel it. If I'm the quarterback, it's all in front of me.
This is the most, let me just say this, most obvious assumption of the offseason. Like, I don't, if there's any human being that did not see this coming, you're living under a rock. He is your best offensive lineman. He played left tackle in college. He's so good and such an athlete. He was able to play right tackle and be an all-pro. Tristan Wirfs is another amazing athlete, and he's an all-pro at both left and right. You can't convince me Penei Sewell can't do that. He can be an all-pro at left and right. And to what Dan was saying, you want your best offensive lineman at left because it gives you, I guess it gives the quarterback an advantage because everything's in front of him most of the time. He can see the right tackle. If he gets beat, he can see it. They had Taylor Decker for so long, and I know Taylor was struggling with injuries, but it is nice knowing Taylor Decker's on your left side. You have this sense of comfortability. Jared doesn't have to, constantly worry about getting hit from his blind side. So I'm glad Dan got, it's kind of a similar answer. He actually gave more than Brad, to be honest. He gave more than Brad, but it seems like those two are both fired up about it. And they can't commit to it because the draft, you don't know what's going to happen in the draft. And I get that, but that's got to be like plan A if they don't land a top, because some of these tackles, Booner, I talked about it today. A lot of these tackles we talk about play right too, like Blake Miller, right tackle. Max, Yanchor, whatever the hell you say his name, right tackle. So just because they draft a tackle, he still might play left. So I think it's the best case for the Lions, man, and people should be fired up about it.
Yeah, I think too, like Dan being like, listen, at the end of the day, like Brad doesn't make decisions on where guys are playing. He gets them the players. He gets Dan the guys, and Dan kind of fills them where he needs to. And Penei Sewell, like Dan Campbell coming out today and being like, I want Penei Sewell at left tackle, I think is enough to be like, he's your left tackle. And there's probably going to be conversations when it comes to the draft. Like, it's interesting to me, like Monroe Freeling's a left tackle. He's played left tackle his whole career. So it's like, does that put you out of the Monroe Freeling, or do you still draft best tackle available and maybe even move on Monroe Freeling? Like, I don't know how they go about that. But I would have to say, based off what Dan said today to these guys and the clips there that we just showed, that Dan's pretty dialed in and locked in at having Penei Sewell move to left tackle. And I do think, like, we've been talking about this for a while now, Jeff, all offseason, and we actually brought it up last offseason for when Taylor was going to leave. We kind of were like, hey, that's kind of Penei's opportunity to move to the left side and protect Jared Goff's blind side. It was so inevitable. Like, you need that. You need him at your left tackle of the future. That's the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL, to be able to sit there and be like, for Jared to know that he could sit in the pocket and he has nothing coming behind him is like, I think that's a game changer, especially for a pocket quarterback, right? Like if it's not like a Lamar or Josh Allen who can move around a little bit, we're talking about like a quarterback that like has to trust he's good in the pocket and can't really move in the pocket. Lions fans all the time get mad because he's not that mobile, and he sometimes I think he steps up in the pocket well, and I think he's like has a good feel for it, but this just helps him out that much more. And I would rather move Penei to left, and whoever you draft that tackle you have at right. And if that's a guy you have to move, like Penei, again, perfect example, Jeff, like Penei was a left tackle in college and moved to right because of Taylor Decker. So these guys it's not off the table, these left tackles, to move, because they literally did that with Penei Sewell, the best tackle that they had on their team. They took him out of position, threw him at right tackle, and said, hey, this is where you're at because we have Taylor Decker. So I still think everything's in the air. I still think they can get a tackle, and I think if they do, that's your right tackle. And I don't, even if he plays left tackle, it's your right tackle. And I know it's hard to kind of change positions, but that's why they got Larry Borom, Jeff, is kind of for that insurance to where if you do get a rookie and he might not be ready to play right tackle right away, guess what? You have Larry Borom to be able to kind of fill that for a few weeks or until that rookie, if he's good enough, gets in there. And then you got to make that move. The one thing today, too, Dan did mention, I don't know if he said it in that clip there, but he actually talked about the offensive line today. And they actually talked about he was not like, hey, Larry Borom's our starting right tackle. He said Larry Borom can do a lot of different things for us, such as a swing tackle. He said that. He literally said swing tackle. He could be what is it, the tight end that they use? A jumbo tight end. Like, he mentioned all of those to where he really wasn't like, hey, Larry's our full-time right tackle. He just essentially was like, the things we can do with Larry is very, very, it's exciting to have him on the roster for that. So I do think they have a plan. If I'm being honest, I think they have a plan in the first 2 rounds to get a tackle. And in their mind, they're like, hey, our tackles of the future is Penei Sewell at left and one of these elite tackles in this year's NFL draft. And I think they're going to look at that more seriously. I don't know where they go with it. Even if it's a guy like in the 3rd, 4th round, I think they're just kind of, they're looking to solidify that right side up a little bit. But that fires me up. I don't know about you, dude, but I'm so happy that Penei's finally moving to left tackle. So happy.
You could try and go get like a Spencer Fano to play right tackle. If you want to get a good quality right tackle, one of the best tackles coming out. If you might need to move up a little bit, maybe a couple picks, or he could go, no one really knows, maybe even top 10, which is out of your range. But then there's the Blake Millers of the world, played right tackle, ton of starts at Clemson. You got the Maxes of the world from Arizona State, very raw, so that's probably people might not be as intrigued, but still, has a lot of upside. I think the most interesting part of having the 17th overall pick in trying to understand that the Lions go best player available, and we've been talking a lot about this, is trying to open your mind up to all the possibilities. And the reason why I say that is you mentioned when you were talking that Jared Goff is not very mobile. All right. He steps up in the pocket. You know what prevents a quarterback from stepping up? Pressure from the interior. Last year, you had Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell playing in games. There was games where they played together, and Jared still felt pressure. So, yes, you're losing Taylor Decker, but the big storyline is you added Cade Mays. Tate Ratledge is going into year 2, and that left guard spot, I don't think it's as figured out as people think it is. I think there's a lot of possibilities there, and I know Dan didn't commit to Larry Borom as a starter, but I think they paid him just in case. He's a guy who can do a lot, but for $5 million, it's like, hey, Larry Borom, we might need you to start, and we're going to pay you to at least $5 million. It's like a serviceable, hey, you could start for us, or you could be a swing tackle. Watch out for a situation where maybe they go, we mentioned Vega a lot at 17, where let's just say, ideally, Booner, you got Penei Sewell protecting his blind side. You got Vega on the left, Cade Mays, Tate Ratledge. You can probably hide Larry Borom. If you have to, if you have 4 guys you feel great about, and then you have one dude, Jared's looking at him, I think you might, again, it's not ideal, but
it's better. Honestly, it's better than last year if you're really looking at it. That offensive line, you have 4 of your 5. is like a significant upgrade. Like if you move Penei over, massive upgrade at left tackle. You bring Vega in, massive upgrade at left guard. Caden Mays, massive upgrade at center. Tate Ratledge, most likely a massive jump from year 1 to year 2. So that's 4 of the 5 positions is a massive upgrade. And then you're just looking at right tackle going like, okay, we could figure this out. Like maybe Larry Borum can give us, just solid starts here and there. And then maybe as well, even if you get like a Vega, maybe Jeff, you get like a tackle in the 3rd or 4th round that could end up at some point starting for you. I mean, you got Christian Mahogany in the 6th round, and he ended up starting for you in his basically first full season, back from after the injury and everything that he went through in year 1. So I don't think it's out of the picture. I think it was best case scenario to move Penei. And I think Brad or Dan kind of realizes that, and he notices like, okay, like that left side needs to be good. Like we need to make sure this blind side is good to go. And that changes this offensive line drastically. I will say, I've said this actually before. I think like what was my number one thing I said this offseason they need to do? They had to figure out this offensive line. Like everyone's talking about the edge and all these. I was like, hey, they just have to figure out the O-line because they cannot run the ball. They can't figure it out. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's like if this offensive line's not working, your offense isn't working. You could put 30 points up versus 3 and 10 teams, but that means nothing when you're trying to make the playoffs and beat the Vikings or beat the Packers and the Bears in your division. And I think they realize that. I would say so far, if you're moving Penei over and your right tackle is Larry Borum, I would say this offensive line is already better than it was last year.
I'll ask the chat and I'll ask you, like, you're in a situation, you're at 17. You got 3 options. I'll give you 4 options just to make it maybe a little more difficult or more easier. At 17, you have Vega available,
all right,
Blake Miller, Caden Proctor, and Max Yanachor, all available. You have basically 2 right tackles, 1 left tackle, and a guard, left guard. Who are you taking? You can't trade up, trade back. No trade. No, that's the easy way out.
Yeah, everyone's saying trade back.
You got to
do
take
that.
one of those guys.
If I'm staying at 17, if you're staying at 17, you take Vega because he's
the situation I'm throwing out.
Because he's arguably, if you can't trade and you have to stay at 17, no teams are reaching out. You can't trade up and you have to sit there. I'm taking the best offensive lineman available, and arguably Vega is the best offensive lineman in the entire draft. Arguably, like you can make that argument. So I'm just taking the best offensive lineman available, and I'm going Vega. And you know what I'm doing? I'm going to try and be aggressive at pick 50. I'm going to try to move up for 50, and I'll try and get like a max. Or we saw the other day in a mock draft that Blake Miller fell to the 2nd round. If there's a tackle that somehow falls to the 2nd round, I'm trying to be a little aggressive to trade up. Because you know, honestly, Jeff, 2 years ago, the Lions went corner back to back. I would not mind at all. And honestly, I would prefer them just to go, if they end up with Vega at 17, if they could get Vega and an offensive tackle like Max or Blake Miller, I'm all in on that. Because now you just found your right tackle of the future. You have your left guard of the future. And your offensive line, you have 0 worries now moving forward. 0. Like you are, like that offensive line will be the best offensive line in the NFL for the next 6 or 7 years. And that's not an exaggeration. That's like, whoa, wait a second. Lion, like this offense is like the best offense in the NFL all of a sudden.
So you're telling me, I'm just asking you a question, that if the Lions leave the 2nd round and they don't have a 3rd round pick with 2 offensive linemen, after me and you have been all over this defense, you would be fine with it.
Yeah, I would. I've came to a realization today. Are we going to talk edges? Because I have a take. I have kind of a new take on edges.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Because go ahead. Fire it away. I mean, we're talking about
it.
We can do it.
I tweeted it out after because obviously Rod Wood spoke with Dave Burkett, and awesome for Dave. He got to do a whole sit down with Rod Wood. And Rod Wood essentially was just like, we were never going to be aggressive in the edge market. Like we never were. That was never
I was worried about that.
And I tweeted this out. People tell me, Jeff, if you saw this tweet, how you would take this. I just tweeted out, and all I said was, the Detroit Lions do not value the edge 2 position. And Lions fans just need to grasp that. Like, you just need to understand that. Would you take that in a bad sense? Is that like a negative sense towards them?
Yes.
Okay, okay, maybe. Because I got a lot of people there was a lot of people who agree with me, but then there was a lot of people what?
The response to that would be, no, they value it. They just don't have the money. That
Yeah, they were like, well, do you want to spend this much money?
Yeah,
And
I get you.
when I tweeted that out, and maybe this is me being really dumb, and you know how my brain works. Sometimes things just don't go through my brain.
By the way, you're not wrong.
No, so that was my point. And everyone I responded to, honestly, I didn't even try and I'd push back that much. I literally just responded and said, no, it's a fact, actually. Because it is. Because the reason I tweeted it out, it wasn't because it was an opinion on me or on my side. It was not an opinion, nothing. It wasn't me being they need to value it. They need to go. All I was trying to point the fact out is dude, they've had opportunities to get another, even if it's an $8 million edge, they won't do it. They value, and listen, whether you agree or not, it could be a good or a bad thing. They value, if you look in the defensive side, they value their defensive tackles. They value their linebackers. They value stopping the run and getting bigger edges that can be inside and out. And they value their linebackers. That's what they value defensively because they want to be more flexible. They don't want to be stuck to have these edges. So when I tweeted that out, on my life, Jeff, it was not meant to be a slant at these guys at the Lions. It was more so just saying the fact, hey, we do have to realize they just don't value that position. And that's just really a fact. And that could be okay. And maybe they have to just adjust to it. But in my mind, I did my mock today. I didn't even take an edge rusher in the first 5 rounds because it's I don't think I legit, Jeff, I do not think they really value that position. And they think that they can roll with DJ Wanham and they can roll with Levi Onwuzurike and they can roll with those guys.
You know what you could do would be good. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but maybe we can do this. Is look at the beginning of Dan and Brad's tenure to now and see how much that edge 2 every year was making. That's what I want to go see.
Yeah. Well, they've never gotten an expensive one. They've usually only just done it through the draft, their second round picks with Josh Pascal and that. And I think today it just hit me dude, they just don't value it, it's again, me saying they don't value it doesn't mean it's a bad thing on their end. It's just when you're building a roster, you value different positions on, the stack rank. It's when you guys spoke to Brad, he was like, I have my stack rank horizontally and vertically. They just have that edge 2 spot lower on that stack rank. So I more so full circle moment here, right? Coming back to the 2 offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds. I would not be mad if they go Vega and a tackle in the second round because I know, Jeff, they don't value that position. They don't. It's just not something that they're dead set on, hey, we have to get an edge in the first 2 rounds. And last year we went into the draft and we were all they're getting an edge, they're getting an edge. And every single round that it went by, guess what they didn't do? They didn't get one. And we all were just throwing our – and if they get one this year, then I'm going to be happy. Yeah, finally they did it. But I'm not going to sit here and say I think they're going to do it because I really don't. I think they might prioritize different positions, and the BPA shows Vega, and it probably shows if one of these tackles fall. Guess what? That turns into BPA pretty quick.
Well, let's play this clip here. Dan talking about the future of the Lions, at least the core, and he kind of spoke about that. So let's play this clip and we'll hear what Dan had to say about it.
I mentioned this earlier with Tim. We got the hard part, man. We got the quarterback. We got 2 receivers. We got a tight end. We got the back. We got a freaking tackle. We got freaking Hutch. We got Jack. We got Branch. So we got these pieces in certain areas, and then we just got to fill in around it and help complement those guys. We're not far off, all right? Nobody said it's going to be easy, but, man, the future looks bright if you're asking me. There's different ways.
By the way, I want to make sure I make something very clear with Dan. He's not lying when they say they have good players. Now, he didn't mention Kirby Joseph. I don't think that was intentionally, though. I'm not going to make a story out of that. I know people are where's Kirby?
He didn't mention Kirby in the other interview, too.
I don't know.
He had 2 opportunities to do it, didn't do it. I thought the same thing.
I'm trying not to make a story out of it. I understand why it'd be significant. I didn't know he did it. He missed it twice.
Yeah.
But I'm going to just try and give him a pass on that. It's just ironic that that's the same guy who's dealing with a potentially career injury.
In the second time when he was with all the media, he was talking about he was essentially talking about like Anzo and them leaving and like the next wave of guys being able to take over and be leaders. And he was like, you have Hutch, you have Jack Campbell, you have Brian Branch, like those are our guys. And then like next up, and we were always like, whoa, Kirby.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. It's just this Kirby stuff has been so mentally exhausting because the guy has. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about the medicals. I don't know how bad it is. Maybe we should bring on like a.
Who's that one guy we had on that one time?
Maybe I'll reach out to him. We should get someone on that has more information. At least would have more of an understanding. I know they can't see his medicals, but at least know what this injury is because you either hear two things. You either hear career ending or he just plays with pain. Which, like, either of those options sound terrible. I don't know if there's another one. I really don't. And we
do have a doctor that comments on all of our tweets about these guys.
I think I've reached out to him. I have to double check. I might have reached out to him. I'm going to try and get him on. But yeah, and by the way, did he mention Aleem McNeil?
Dan? He talked about Aleem McNeil today. Pretty in this interview, actually, with Dan Miller. And I'll tell you what, as much as I've gone at Aleem McNeil, makes me nervous the confidence Dan Campbell has in that guy. I'll tell you what, because you know what? I want to believe Dan Campbell, everything he says. I don't like disagreeing with that man.
Well, no one's.
He thinks Aleem's about to have a big year.
Well, there's no denying that he didn't play his best football coming off an ACL injury. I don't think me and you would argue that. Like clearly, he was hindered because of the injury. I think the whole argument that the problem we have is you paid him before he showed he was worth the money, I guess, or he showed he was getting better and he was a good defensive tackle, but you paid him as a great one. So I hope Dan Campbell, he is a great defensive tackle this year because that's what you paid him to be. I mean, it's like that's what you expect out of a guy making top 5 at his position. I mean, that's the going rate. Just like if I was paid as a top 5 broadcaster in the state of Michigan, I probably should perform as a top 5 broadcaster. I mean, same thing at Dan Campbell. You're paid as a top 5 head coach. Probably should be the head coach, top 5 head coach. So, yeah. I think Aleem plays much better than he did last year. I just don't know what does that look like, though. Like, what does that look like? What does a great Aleem McNeil look like? I don't know.
Honestly, for me, it's, dude, can you please just stop the run? I mean, this year, you remember all the amount of times we just saw him just get blown up? I did the example last week. I stood up and did the example. I could do it again if you want, but
oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't want him. I want him to be able to stop the run and he's got to rush the passer. That's what you get paid.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, he's just you're a 3 tech. It's like you got to stop the run, but we're paying you to, we're paying you to get after
he should still get to the quarterback. And I mean, a lot of people are like Booner, like his stats aren't sacks. Like, dude, I don't even look at that. All I look at is last year, every time I saw him, it felt like he was just getting thrown back and a running back would run into him and he would just miss a tackle. And it was one of the more frustrating things when you're paying a guy $28 million and he's in the interior missing tackles and there's gaping holes and like shit. What's so funny, Jeff?
I mean, no, you're right. There's a lot of gaping holes, and there were grown men running through them. That's the problem.
And really too, like Shep's out here being like, "We're not getting ran on," or whatever he was saying. Like,
yeah, what he said. No one's just lining up and running the ball down our throat.
Oh, that's exactly what they were doing. Actually,
they were lining up and running the ball down your throat. That's absolutely what was happening. Steve Welker's Miles Adams time. Yeah.
Did we re-sign Miles Adams, by the way?
They did, yeah.
Okay. Because I was going through my camera roll earlier today looking for a Taylor Decker picture, and I just kept running across Miles Adams. And I was like, did I tweet that did he come back? I couldn't remember.
Him. I mean, congratulations. I don't know I guess I don't even really know. I think he's more like a hybrid, like a defensive tackle, but maybe he can.
He's our Roy Lopez now.
Yeah. By the way, Steven, appreciate it. Member for 11 months. He says Lions going right tackle draft, Miller, Max, maybe. Yeah, we run into this issue, guys. I'm just trying to be the messenger. Be prepared for anything.
Anything.
Be prepared for it. We've been through this. I've covered 5 drafts. I never got it right. I'll be honest with you. The only one I've gotten right was Hutch, because it was like, well, if this dude's available, obviously you're taking it.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of people who didn't get that right too. So
which
kudos.
Is insane. But other than that, it's like I've never got any of these right. So like, and I'm just no one has. I mean, well, if you have, congratulations. But it's hard. It's really hard, man. Especially some
people. I mean, have gotten every pick right in every draft they predicted.
Impressive. Some people
that's never missed. Actually, they actually knew Brad's exact board.
Yeah, exactly. The draft board. That's the thing. You can't. There's those people. Oh, those people. They pissed me off. There's no way to know what his draft board is. Like that's why.
There's no one that gets it right. I mean, like last year, shout out Spenny. I think Spenny actually his last mock draft was Ty Leak, which that's like impressive. And Spenny, impressive. That's like honestly, that's just like hitting. I'm not gonna say not like hitting the lottery because it's obviously better odds for you, but like it's hard to do that, man. And I think that's like just the point to what Brad does is you just have no clue. Like remember, like we thought they were going to go edge last year, and for the first 3 rounds we kept mocking edge. They didn't go edge until Ahmed Hassani, and everyone was like, "Dude, what?" And there was edges on the board. Mike Green was on the board till in the second pick, and they didn't do it. So it's just one of those things where you just don't know. And I think a lot of people are going to be expecting tackle, and it's like, oh, wait a second.
Oh,
hold on 1 second.
Give me Jeremiah Love. Klotz, I don't want to hear you drafting another running back, pal.
Honestly, okay? I think I'm confident to say this in my life in this moment. I would never want Lukas Klotz as my general manager of my franchise.
You'd have a bunch of grit everywhere. Just a lot.
We would be 1-16, but it would be like, hey, but we got some dogs that are going to be good in a few years. Like, bro, what?
Yeah, Keontae Scott. He would draft Keontae Scott, but then he would draft like Michael Taft. He likes Michael Taft.
We would have Clayton Tune as our quarterback. Well, we would just be like, our franchise would be like, we would have like, I don't even know.
You'd have Sam Laporta at tight end though, somewhere.
We would, yeah.
But yeah,
Clayton Tune with the touchdown to Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I don't want to hear you talk about Jeremiah Love, Klotz. You want to give Jameer
Gibbs $100
million. All right, get out of here. All right, I don't want to hear from you on that. Shout out to Lucas, though. Phil, appreciate it. Member for 18 months. Doc really ahead of you guys. What do you even mean by that, Phil? I need specifics. What is he ahead
What does that mean?
Start? Like, what do you mean, starting the stream ahead of us? I don't know.
Is he still live?
He might be.
Dude, if Doc's still live, I'm going to FaceTime him on air. I mean, he is.
I mean, 40 minutes in.
No, he's not live. He's not live.
Okay. I'll say this guy's a sicko, man.
But he went live 10 minutes into ours. I'm going to have to start calling him.
Klotz goes, Booner again. Can't sense sarcasm.
Klotz, you're still not my GM.
not my GM. Not my GM. I will play. I guess we can get to. We might as well just get to the Dan Campbell stuff. Then we can get to Taylor Decker. I did want to bring up his comments on Kelvin Shepard because he reiterated his support for the Lions defensive coordinator.
I got by the way, videos on our Twitter. It's like 2 minutes. He answered like 3 questions about the defense. I thought when you're watching it, like it's an interesting thought, honest, like conversation that he was having. It's interesting. I'll say that.
Let's play this clip. Dan talking about Calvin and the defense. Let's take a listen.
Yeah. So here's what I told you guys the combine. I was back there with the defense. We were going through all those cut-ups from last year, with Shep and the staff. I love that staff. All right. There's so many things that you take in. You're like, all right, what did we do well? What did we not? Where do we go from here? This is who we lost. Here's some pieces that we added. What do we need? And so really the way Shep's done it, which I love, is we've kind of given ourselves, we got kind of these 3 options a little bit as to where we can go with this. It's still us, but it gives us, depending on who the other end is, okay, we got Wanham. Do we draft somebody? All right, what does it look like? Are we more this 4 down? Do we become more 5 down? Do we become more nickel, depending on? So we've got some flexibility here ready. Like it's already built into the install for Shep. Like, all right, I can go 3 ways here by personnel. It's still the same install, but we got the pieces to put where we want, whether that's a nickel, it's an end, it's a big end, it's a linebacker. So we're kind of flexible here. We got some flexibility. So yes, we love base because it dictates, but not if we don't have the personnel to play base, Now that
I love that Dan said this, because the feeling I got when Calvin met with the media, separate media session, more with like some of the guys that have been covering the Lions for a while. And maybe we can have Corey on and we'll talk to Doc about it, but just get more insight on that, because I don't know all the specifics of what he said, but I know he did mention his scheme. And I can't remember. This is where I'm going to wait on this, because I can't remember if he doubled down on his philosophy or not. But I love that Dan was like, hey, we're going to play to our personnel. I'm not sure I think Calvin might have said that, but he also mentioned, I know for a fact he did mention Nick Amanawori and said, yeah, if we had a Nick Amanawori, we'd run the same defense as Seattle. And I think he also mentioned that he had another coach come up to him and compliment his scheme. So clearly, in my opinion, there's a little bit of that insecurity somewhere in there about his scheme, because he had to make sure people knew, like, hey, I had a guy come up to me and be like, hey, that's a good scheme you got over there. But I'm curious. It's not about your flexibility at the end of the day, okay? Fans don't care. You know what fans care about? Where you rank defensively. And all I know for a fact is this defense hasn't been top half in total defense in Dan's entire tenure, okay? Whether it's Aaron Glenn or Calvin Shepard. Aaron Glenn, you can at least give some excuse to early on, because they had me and Booner playing on the defense, but they've never ranked top half. Like, that's what it comes down to. You can play nickel, run base, and do all this, 5 down, 4 down. I just want a top half defense, okay? We can talk about top 5. We can talk about top 10. I just want a top half total defense with a 4th place schedule. Is that too much to ask at the end of the day?
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? For a coordinator going into year 2 that everyone's expecting to take a jump. Like, I got nothing against Calvin personally. It's the job, right? That's all we're critiquing him on. I don't care about the human. I don't care what he does in his free time. I don't give a damn. If you're coaching up a great defense, you can go to Legends every single night for all I care, okay? I don't care. You get on the field, you put out a defense that's top half, top 10 preferably, and I'm a happy man at the end of the day. So I love that Dan said it, but at the end of the day, talk is cheap, action is expensive. Okay, we said that on the show before.
Yeah. I don't think we did. That was new. No, we have not. That was new.
Let that one simmer. But that's
say that again.
Talk is cheap, action is expensive.
Okay, wow. Let that one simmer a little bit.
Yeah, get me in that room with those coaches. I'll talk to him for a second. That defensive staff.
I do think I'll say this. Earlier in the combine, Shep, from what we heard, Shep was like, we're not switching up what we have. Like, we're playing base. Like,
I think he said that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from what we took out of it. I mean, after that same day, we were, at the bar having some drinks with the doc, and that was what the doc explained to us. I don't know if the drinks changed, maybe what the doc was saying. Yeah, maybe in our mind we were like, oh, he's not changing it. What? But I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I'll say this. Dan Campbell today talking and saying that actually made me feel a little bit better, because actually now it makes me feel like, okay, maybe they are willing to switch this thing up a little bit and play a little bit more nickel and actually try what the entire NFL, like what teams are actually doing in the NFL that's working defensively. Maybe they're actually willing to try it. And Jeff, remember what Dan said at the combine? He said, I'm going to start having more conversations and working with the defense more in depth. It's been about a month since then. They've had 4 weeks or so for them to probably have more meetings and Dan really to speak with Shep and have those conversations. I wonder in that time if Dan had, sat in those meetings with them and talked with them and was like, hey, we do have to figure out a way to be more flexible. And I think Dan's right at the end of the day. Like, the way that they got guys in free agency, it kind of showed actually that they are looking to be a little bit more flexible. It did show. The guys that they got, you're looking at them and you're like, oh, wait, those are guys that could play, safety, that could play nickel, that could play outside. They can move all around, which is exactly what you were kind of looking for. Roger McCreary, Christian Ezien, like these guys can move around a little bit. So I kind of actually, I know a lot of people might not have liked it or they don't like the defensive talk with Dan and what's going on with his defense. Dude, I actually I took a positive out of that today, if I'm being honest with you, because we just have not heard that they were willing to adjust a little bit at all over the last year or so.
Yeah, I think the good part of this, of Dan speaking about the defense at the combine, as he mentioned it, good and bad. Good because he mentioned he's going to be more involved in the defense, which you could take as a positive. I took it more as like, really, like he shouldn't have to be babysitting, but I understand that he wants to have more of an influence. So maybe it is more good. I just think at the end of the day, I've been consistent with it. You've been consistent with it. The defense, I've been saying this for years. The Super Bowl is going to run through this defense. We know this offense is box office when you got a good O-line. Okay, we know what they can be. We can talk about the Ben Johnson stuff, but they have all the personnel to succeed. They really do. If you have an offensive line that can protect Jared and you can run the football, it opens up so much you can do offensively, given the personnel. If you can't stop anybody, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You can still defend the run, but you can be a bend, don't break a defense. I'd rather them not be that. I'd rather them just be, a good defense and create turnovers, which that's where the Kirby Joseph stuff comes into play. Because, like, you're looking at a defense that potentially will not have Brian Branch, but the future of Kirby's kind of unknown. So, two guys that are just elite playmakers for you at safety, we don't even know what their future holds at this point. So that's the concern for me. And then your starting corner on defense is going through this weird legal situation where he's innocent, but then there's other stuff that maybe suggests he's involved, but then he's not involved. I don't know. I don't have enough information, which we'll talk about it at some point. Losing Anzalone, you have to find a replacement for him if you're going to run base defense. But if they don't run base and they run more nickel, you have Roger McCreary, which I didn't even know this. They said they've been following Roger since he was at Auburn. He was coming out of the draft. So they actually like him a lot. So that makes me think that they're probably going to try and implement some nickel with Roger McCreary out there.
Good.
Which would mean you'd have Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell, which then the spotlight then goes to Derek Barnes, who you paid. It's like, all right, we want to see this progression in Derek Barnes because he's going to be asked to do a little more, kind of filling in for, I guess it'd be the Anzalone role, but I think Jack is really taking on that role where he's like covering guys. I think Jack's going to probably do that. So Derek's just going to have, he's going to be the number 2 linebacker there. So I don't know. A lot of guys got to step up. I mean, you're kind of banking on like a Lee McNeil to return to form. Derek Barnes to, look like he's worth every bit of that $8 million contract. And I'll mention it because the draft isn't here yet. DJ Wanham. You need DJ to look like Minnesota Vikings DJ Wanham, where he's getting 8 sacks a year and defending the run. So if they can stitch together a top half defense, you like your odds a lot better to potentially make a playoff run. But it's going to come down to that defense, man. Like, you can't average 30, but give up 25 a game. Like, it's just hard to sustain that. You know what I mean? Because your offense is going to have turnovers. They're not going to play perfect every game. You know what I mean? They're going to have games where they just can't figure it out for whatever reason. Like Drew Petzing is hopeful as we are. Like, it happens with every offensive coordinator. It happens, man. Like this, it's the NFL. You need your defense to just show up. And again, same for the defense. Like, they're going to have games where they can't stop anybody, but you hope to see more than not them just be able to compete, get teams off the field. How many 3rd and longs have we seen in this regime get converted? It's like 3rd and 15s are getting just converted
every time. I think that conversion, the 3rd down conversions, I think this last year I could be wrong. I don't want to speak out of, and be wrong on this, but it felt like we were one of the lowest in the league. That's something we can look up too. I can look that up real quick.
And it's also
remember they didn't get a third. Oh no, that was a convert. That was offensively too. Oh my goodness.
Well, it also sometimes I will say that 3rd down defense conversion rate. Maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I'll add more context. It can be a little spotty because if teams are if it's 1st down or 2nd down and they're getting another 1st down, they're not converting a 3rd down. So, like last year, how many times on 2nd down did they run for 10 yards? And you're like, okay, they're already. Like,
hey, by the way, to be honest, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lions were 9th 3rd down stops.
And they felt like they never got any stops. So
never. They
probably weren't getting teams to 3rd downs as much. Maybe they were just like 2nd down.
Yeah. 36.9% was the 3rd down.
Okay. Well, hopefully 1st and 2nd down, they can be better then. There's the improvement.
It's a tough, that's a tough look on our end. Hey, sorry, Shep.
Yeah.
Good job on 3rd downs.
In the run defense, it goes back to the identity conversation I always mention. Like, if you're a good unit, you should have an identity.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you don't have an identity on offense or defense, you're just bad. And last year they just didn't have an identity on defense. That's why when people were like, "Oh, they just had injuries." What was their identity? I mean, they didn't get turnovers. They allowed a bunch of rushing yards, a bunch of passing yards. They didn't get stops in the end zone. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what's the identity there?
Well, like the crazy thing is it's from in 2023 and 2024, you averaged, you only gave up, I think 1 year it was like 95 yards per game, rushing yards per game. And in 2023, I believe it was like 80 something. And it was like first or second in the league. Right. So like for 2 straight years, you were one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. You were at 114 yards per game last year. 114. It wasn't like, hey, you took a little step forward, like back. You went from, 95 to 105. No, you went from like 95 to like 115. That's a significant jump. That's nothing small. And especially in we all know what, like in football, man, if you could run the ball, you win games, man. You're controlling the time of possession. Like one of the ball changes everything. That's why we offensively and our O-line right now, that's why they kind of are putting a lot into that right now, is because they know, hey, we need to be able to run the ball. Dan actually said that today with Dan Miller, is he brought up like, hey, we need to get back to running the ball on offense more efficient. When we need to convert running the ball, we need to be able to do that. And he was like, we did not last year. And when you can do that and you can stop the run, that's when you win 15 games. Don't care about the schedule. If they could have stopped the run this last year and ran the ball normally, what did we win? 9? They would have won 12 games this year. Even with the hard schedule, they would have found a way to win 12 games because you're running the ball. You're controlling the game. And I think that's the number one thing. They need to get back to that defensively, and Shep needs to figure that out. And I don't think there's any excuses for the guy anymore. As much as human as everyone might love Shep, you can't have excuses. This defense has to be good. It was bad last year. Don't care about injuries. It was bad. They need to be good. There's no leeway. There's zero leeway. And if it's not even close to even good, is like taking a step forward in last year, guess what? You're out of a job. And when you need to go out there and get a legit DC.
Especially when you're trying to win the Super Bowl. That's the main thing. Is like when you have pressure and expectations, the leash is shorter, much shorter. So again, it's not like we're going to root for his downfall, but you got to lay out those expectations, man. They got to be able to run the ball on offense. I'm not taking accountability away from the offense, because there's times where they couldn't run the ball and they'd get off the field quickly. So the defense will go back on the field. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But when offenses are running the ball down your throat, it keeps your offense off the field. So it's like you said, it comes down to what you do on the ground, man. Like that's part of it. So Matt says, trying to win the Super Bowl, ? We aren't trying to win the Super Bowl. We just want sustained success.
I'll tell you what, too. Rod Wood brought that up, I think, in his interview. I'm pretty sure when I read the article. And he was like, we don't want to just, be very good for a few years. We want to win championships, like multiple. And it's just like, to me, it's just, dude, I would rather win one, and then we could talk about adding more.
Dude.
But, yeah, you don't want to be very good every year. We just went 9-8, and you missed the playoffs. What sustained success is happening? There's none so far. You haven't won a playoff game in 2 years. You only won a playoff game in one season out of your 4 seasons so far. Putting that into that perspective kind of changes everything. Like, you're trying to sustain success. You've only won a playoff game in one season. That's it. Where's the sustainability? One season out of 4 years. What is it, 5 years actually now? Sorry. Or whatever it is. Come on now.
Well, the word success.
Let's get back-to-back playoff wins and seasons first.
Can be subjective. What's your definition of success? I would ask Rod, Dan, and Brad that. My version is a Super Bowl. That is true success. Maybe it changes year to year. Maybe when you first get here, Dan and Brad, you're looking at, hey, man, let's just try and build this team. Let's compete for the division. There's levels to this where you're like, let's just make the playoffs. Or let's win the division. They've accomplished these things. Like I think Super Bowl has to be the success. So when you add the word sustained in front of it, in my opinion, you're trying to insinuate a dynasty, which in my opinion is irresponsible given the fact dynasties that's why when they happen, you're like, wow, it's unreal to see the Chiefs and the Patriots do it, because it's such an anomaly given health, consistency from a coaching perspective and a quarterback perspective, a defense perspective, all that stuff. For like, I'm with, just win in the chat, whoever said it, just win a Super Bowl, and then we could talk about sustained success. No one's just throwing out like, yeah, we just want sustained success. Like, what does that mean? Is that just making the playoffs, winning records? What is it? Because
I don't know.
I don't know. I would love to ask, like, genuinely, like, off the record conversation, like, hey, like, what does that mean to you? Like, what does sustained success mean? Like, just this? I don't mind going up to the top, to the mountaintop, smelling the breeze, looking at the view, taking it all in, maybe going down a little bit, and then trying to scale that way up, because I'm like, I already saw the top. So, like, I don't mind trying to get back up there because I already saw the top. I'm not trying to hang not the top of the mountain, but like, a little bit below and just kind of hang there. I want to get to the mountaintop. That's what I think every fan should want, strive for. So I don't know. I don't know. Broadwood, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that makes a ton of sense.
It's so interesting to me that they have that mindset where
it sounds great.
It sounds awesome, but you've only won a playoff game in one season so far. And then in that same time span, you've gotten bounced from the playoffs, and then you also missed the playoffs. So it's one of those things where it's hard to pitch sustained success when you haven't been able to sustain or even just win in general yet. It's hard to pitch that.
Yeah, I agree. He actually talked about Terrion Arnold as well, and I have the timestamp here. So let's play Dan talking about TA, and then we'll share our thoughts on it. But here's Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, we've probably everything you guys know. I mean, we got all the information that says he wasn't involved. That's what we know. That's all we know. And I mean, that's really all I can say. I mean, we're monitoring what's out there. I mean, as of a month ago, this was nothing. So I have no idea what this is. As far as I know, it's still not a big deal. It seems like, he wasn't involved with this. So.
What steps, if any, do you have to take to just make sure you have some insurance in case things change?
Well, getting Rock was big. Getting Rock back was big for us. Now that's not why. Well, what happens if that wasn't the thought? But if it happens that way, or you talk about insurance, I mean, certainly we'll need to be able to fill in somewhere with depth. But look, we still got Reed. We like Rake. Rake's coming back. I know it's unproven right now, but he's had a good off season to this point. And we got Rock, man, and McCrary, and so we've got some things there. And we'll just take it as it comes. I mean, until something happens, I feel like we're going to be good here. I'm going to trust what the kids said, and I think we're all right. Yeah, right now I see Rake more outside than anything, and let him compete. And I know it's early, but that's why we draft him, to see if he can fill one of these roles or compete for us.
Dan, your perspective on that.
Rakestraw makes an appearance once again.
They said outside all of a sudden. Wasn't he last year? Weren't they we're playing him in the slot?
Yeah, I think
exclusively.
I think they might have mentioned that he played outside in the preseason game and he got beat for a touchdown and then got hurt. But
so maybe he was outside.
Maybe that was the thing where he was asked and he was like, yeah, I mean, he's got some versatility to him. Maybe he did say something like that. But they are more committal this year, I will say, like certain about him playing outside. I mean, he is unproven. I would say is a friendly term for Ennis Rakestraw right now. Like I think unproven is probably the way, if you're trying to be very politically correct with Ennis Rakestraw. Again, I'm rooting for the guy. I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not trying to root against him. I'm just stating a fact. Like, in 2 years, you've gotten nothing out of a second-round pick. That's a fact. So this year, it's not like they've banked on him. So I think that's also fair. Like, they re-signed Rock Ya-Sin, and they're out trying to bank on him. But this shows that they still see something in Ennis Rakestraw. Which, like, they should. They've spent a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even care about that. Honestly, I'm just going to be quite frank. I could care less about any of the comments he says about Ennis Rakestraw, and because even Dan kind of said he was like, he's proven nothing. So it's like, really, he's like, we like him, but he's proven nothing. So I'm not even going to. I'm going to take that with like a grain of salt. Not even a grain of salt. 0 salt. No salt. Please don't put salt on my food. Like, I'm good with that. What about this Terrion stuff? Like, where we at with that? What's the feeling for us? Because that was he's like, we trust him, we think it's good. He didn't do it, he wasn't involved from what we know.
Sounds like Dan has no clue. All due respect. Like, he don't know anything. They really don't.
I don't want to, again, we don't know anything, nothing that we know, nothing. We know nothing. But from what we read, to me, in my opinion, not involved. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Sounds like the reality of it is this, in my opinion. This is my reality, I guess you can say. So I'm not, legally liable or anything. I don't get in trouble or anything like that. My opinion. We really need an attorney so we can say a statement before, because I feel like we can't talk about this stuff without like a legal statement before being like, whatever we say, we do not like represent. I don't know. I don't even know what we would say. We're not. Well, I would say this. I mean, in case you're an idiot, I'll say this: we're not attorneys. Okay, we can't give law advice. We give opinions.
We're just giving opinions on based on what we're reading.
My opinion, based on what was reported, I don't think it's a question of if he was involved. I think it's a question of how much was he involved, and can it be proved that he was involved enough to be charged? Like, I think that's really, I think there's I would guess TA knew about this. I would guess. Okay. Just a guess. The real conversation is, can it be proven more than just text? Is someone going to rat on him? That's really the question. And you're innocent until proven guilty, and they got to prove he's guilty. They got to prove he's guilty, and I'm not sure at this point. He hasn't been charged, so I'm not sure they can prove he's guilty. But to say, like, oh, he's not involved, I don't know about that one, Dan. I don't know about that one, man. I probably would just, if I was Dan, I would have been like, no comment. I'm not going to speak on it. I got no clue what's going on, and I'm not going to comment on it. I think that probably would have been, it wouldn't have been as good for us to talk about, but for his sake, probably just don't comment on if he's involved or not. Because it's not like Dan's reading through all the documents and like, they don't know, dude. You know what I mean? They really don't. None of us do, but what was reported isn't a great look for the guy.
Yeah, and they feel like the craziest part to me, and again, there are a lot of corner free agents still out there, so maybe they'll be able to, if something does happen, but he's like, hey, if TA's not there, like, we've got Rock, we've got Rock Ya-Sin. And in my mind, I love Rock Ya-Sin. I think he's a great backup. I think he's a heck of a dude in the locker room for them, a vet. I don't know how comfortable I am rolling out there for a whole Super Bowl season with DJ Reed and Rock Ya-Sin. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, man. I don't know about that one. Just being honest.
Yeah,
that would be a disaster. That would be a disaster.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
And he's good. Like, it's not as bad, but he's good. But he's not like hey, that's like a starter in the NFL to go win a Super Bowl.
No, and that's not a hot take. Like, that's a fact.
Look at the corners in the Super Bowl last year.
That's a fact.
Patriots had Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis.
Actually, I saw a tweet. I don't have the tweet, but someone put something out about the importance of cornerback play. And more so Super Bowl teams and looking at who they had at corner. Obviously, like, let's just get this straight too. Like, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you need to be stacked in a lot of areas. But there's just this interesting correlation between Super Bowl teams and every one of them having good corners. I don't know. It's interesting. You go back like the last 5 years. Honestly, the exception would have been if the Rams beat the Seahawks, because they don't really have good corners, and they could have probably won it all. I think they would have beat the Patriots, but typically cornerback play isn't very bad. I mean, I look at it as people want to come at me for positional value stuff. Like, I'll tell you, cornerback's one of the most important positions in football. It really is, man. Like, wide receivers, it's an offensive game, and it doesn't take a genius to look at the guy who's covering the wide receiver as an important position. Like, you need good corners. And I might even add that to the defense conversation. Lions haven't had good corners in their entire – I mean, Carlton Davis actually showed some things, but DJ Reed, I hope, can have a full season of playing well, but they haven't had a good cornerback play either through their tenure, being honest.
I mean, do you remember what Amon-Ra said about corners, though?
If you got a good D-line, you don't need
said doesn't matter what corners you have. You could have anyone out there. If you have a good D-line, you don't need corners.
Which that was kind of the Rams model. I mean, they were getting after they were getting lit up, but if they were getting after the quarterback.
The Eagles for a little bit, I feel like. Remember when they had Darius Slay and they had someone else out there that they cut? I can't remember who.
Bradbury.
Yeah, they had old guys that just weren't really like what they were before, but they just had such a good interior and D-line and good safeties, it just didn't matter.
Yeah, so it's interesting that the TA stuff. I hope it works out for him. I do, because for his sake and for the Lions' sake, because they need a year 3 now jump out of TA. Bad. Yeah. They need like Pro Bowl Terrion Arnold, and I think if he's not at a Pro Bowl level this year, that pick's looking a lot different. I'm going to be honest. Like, you're a first-round corner, 3 years in, you're not at a Pro Bowl level. Like, dude, how long do we got to wait, man? Like, Christian Gonzalez was picked in the middle of the first and was great right away.
Yeah, I mean, if you're waiting until year 4, year 5,
it's like, what are you, a project? Like, I mean, what is it?
I mean, a first-round draft pick, like, you should be – rookie year, you should have shown a lot of signs of it, and it's understanding, like, hey – some rookie slumps, like you can deal with that, but year 2, you've got to show something by year 2, especially if you're a first round. It's the same thing like with Ty Lee going into this year, where Ty Lee in year 2, like, you're expecting a massive jump out of him. You were expecting that last year out of TA, just to be quite frank, and you didn't really get it.
Now I will answer this because I've seen this a lot. Meme Studio, can anyone explain why we haven't gone and got our former guard Kevin Zeitler?
It won't happen.
He plays right guard. And me and you talked about this actually because it was relevant to the conversation when Graham Glasgow got cut. We talked about a story that Dan called Graham one time and was like, yo, need you to play left guard. We're bringing in Kevin Zeitler. He's playing right guard. You know, Kevin Zeitler's at a point in his career, he ain't moving. And Tate Ratledge is a right guard. So that's the issue, is I'm not moving Tate Ratledge to left guard. I'm not. And Kevin Zeitler's only playing right guard, and he's also, you know, like AG said, probably 100 years old at this point. So it's not going to happen. I love Kevin Zeitler. I really do, but it's just not doesn't make sense right now for him. They need a left guard at this point. They do. Speaking of the offensive line, Taylor Decker, the news of Taylor Decker hit over the weekend. He spoke to Justin Rogers, Detroit Football Network, and went into a different things, conversation about his departure from the Lions. And there's some quotes in here. I'm going to read from Pride of Detroit. You guys can go check out the full article and get the subscription. You get a bunch more details, but we have some of the highlights from what Taylor Decker said when he was talking to Justin Rogers. And honestly, like, to put it and summarize it before we get into it, like, Taylor Decker feels disrespected. I mean, he just does. He feels disrespected on how things ended, and he's, you know, upset with, I guess, the lack of communication at the end between him and Brad and Dan. And it's I mean, even Ben Johnson called the guy when Brad and Dan didn't call him. Ben Johnson called him not to recruit him, just to check on the guy. That's a bad look. Like, I'm just going to be real. Like, for Ben Johnson to go out of his way not to recruit him, just to be like, yo, is everything good? How are you feeling? And you can't even give this guy a call, that's bad. A guy like Taylor Decker, he's been a Lion for a decade. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he was like your longest tenured Lion.
Like, you at least got to call the guy, and whatever, kiss his ass and be nice. I mean, you don't have to sign him. I get the pay cut thing. I'm not saying that's that's just the human being side of it. We'll read some of the quotes and then we'll get our opinion on it. So Pride of Detroit wrote here to kind of start to finish it. So Taylor Decker posted on his social media announcing he was returning. This was like, a while back for another season. And it says here, in his social media post announcing that he was requesting his release from the Detroit Lions, Taylor Decker made a vague reference to surprising conversations with the team that led him to this decision. He said, in my weeks, he already kind of put this, but it's basically in my weeks since notifying the team of my return, there have been numerous discussions, many of which were a surprise to me, and we could not find common ground. Therefore, I decided to request my release. This was March 6th, so earlier this month. And it says here, Decker and the Lions both knew that retirement was clearly an option for the veteran left tackle, who had publicly discussed how injuries and time away from the family started to wear on him. And but according to Decker, in his pair of exit interviews with the team in January, two things were made clear. The Lions wanted him back. Decker was not interested in taking a pay cut. Okay, so this was already made clear in January. Lions were like, we want you back. And Decker's like, hey, I'm not taking a pay cut. However, when the two sides reconvened after Decker announced he'd be returning, he was blindsided when the team told his agent that the only way he'd be returning is if he was on a pay cut. There wasn't much discussion after that. Decker turned the offer down before the two sides even discussed numbers. Earlier in the week, Lions general manager Brad offered his side and insisting the only thing that could have been considered surprising was the timing of Decker's public announcement. Although Decker said he talked to Coach Dan Campbell the day before and about his decision and tried to reach out to Holmes, but he did not get a responding call or text. He said, I think a lot of those situations that happen, it all starts with communication and what you communicate with the player, what you communicate with the player's agent. And so it starts there. Holmes said there wasn't really no surprises. Again, you don't know when a player is going to put something out. So if you want to say there was a surprise, maybe it was a surprise, but in terms of the decisions that he made, I wouldn't say that was a surprise. And here's where Decker this is where Decker was kind of pissed off. Decker insists there was a communication breakdown and surprises on his end, whether it was Holmes not calling him back before Decker publicly announced his return, Detroit's lack of clear communication and requesting a pay cut, or more personally, the lack of outreach from anyone in team leadership to thank him for his time with the franchise after a decade of service. Decker was clearly not happy. And this is the part of Justin Rogers' article. It says, here's what's driving Decker crazy. This does feel a little personal. Since talking to Campbell on February 23rd, he has not heard from team leadership. There wasn't a follow-up from his coach. Holmes never reached out, and Decker had to make first contact with position coach Hank Fraley, a man he publicly went to bat for when Campbell was hired. After giving everything he had to the franchise for a decade, Decker expected more. He wanted to hear from his coach, from the general manager. He just wanted a simple thank you on his way out the door. And just as badly, he wanted a thank you for everything the organization has meant to and given to him. So it says here, while Holmes said never say never, when it comes to a reunion with Decker, the veteran left tackle does not share that feeling. He views his divorce from the Lions as final, though he hopes to eventually sign a symbolic one-day contract in Detroit so he can retire a Lion and stay close to the organization. So that's the storyline there. It's really the lack of communication after February 23rd. So
yeah. Do you want me to? By the way, I do have Dan Campbell talking about it. Do you want me to? Do you want me to pull that up?
I want to give Decker's side, then we could play Dan's response to it. So yeah, go ahead.
It's hard. It's hard because you understand what they do, and all that they give. To do it the right way, to make it work, to try to, they buy into the vision. And so when you lose those guys, it's hard because the other thing, it's abrupt, right? It's like David. He asked about David. We talked right when everything happened, and I love him to death, but that's it. Now we'll talk again at some point, but it's just these guys you're around all the time. It's like coaches, man. It's just gone. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy, but that's the nature of the business, and that's the way it was when I was a player. You know, some of these coaches, it's like I had a coach that it was like we talked every day, man. He would send me messages, he would talk, and then the minute I go to another team, I never heard from him again. You know, and it wasn't being vindictive, but it's also a little bit like, well, you're not part of the team anymore, and all my focus is on this, and that's kind of the world we live in. Unfortunately, it's hard, you know, but it is that's the way it goes. Yeah. There was a path. You know, it was on a reduced price, but yeah, we were willing, but we knew we needed help too, you know, and that was kind of a little bit of with Decker and Dave, we get some capital to where now we can use on free agents. I mean, you know, Decker's alone with the way it all went down. We got 3 players that we feel like are going to help us, you know, that we wouldn't have gotten, you know, once he. But listen, Deck's a stud, man. He gave a lot for a long time through 3 regimes, and we'll be forever grateful, man. And he'll always be a Lion, and it'll always be his home at some point, you know. So he'll be missed, like all those guys will be missed.
Is there more? Is there more with that video?
Hey, we're good. I think there was, but we're good. That's why
we can play it if there's more.
I just don't know exactly.
Well, because I do have something to say about that, Dan's response, because I don't think it's fair, and this is where I'll take the side of Taylor Decker. I don't think it's fair for Dan to compare his situation to Taylor Decker, because Dan mentioned in there, like when I was a player, you know, I'd leave and go to another team, and that was it. Well, I
disagree with that.
Dan spent 3 years with 3 different teams.
Yeah, but like, but Dan's point
for a decade. Like,
but Dan's point isn't that like longevity. It's like it's the NFL. Like, yeah, the Lions is an organization. Oh, Taylor Decker, he was with them for 10 years. Like, and that's why every time Brad, Dan, and everyone with the Lions organization has talked to Taylor Decker or about Taylor Decker, they have given him nothing but flowers when it comes to that. Like, dude, this guy, like, just like he just said, like, Decker is in line for life. Like, he always will be. But when it comes to the business side of things, I'm just going to be quite frank. Like, I do understand. I'll take the opposite side. Like, I understand where the Lions are coming from. Like, at the end of the day, their goal is to win a Super Bowl. It's not to make Taylor Decker happy. And yeah, maybe Brad could have gone about it a different way. But like at the end of the day, they really don't owe anyone anything. They really don't, dude. And I get it. There's a right way to do business. But when you ask a player and have a conversation with the player, like Caleb called me and asked me about it this weekend. I'd like to break it down. And the one thing I said with the Lions that I think maybe they did wrong was in the exit meetings, it was very clear, obviously, that Decker made it seem where it was like, hey, I'm not taking a pay cut. And also that they want him back. And I think actually both were true. Like, I think the Lions truly did want him back, and Decker didn't want to take a pay cut. And the Lions are like, hey, man, like, we want you back, right? Like, that's not a lie. We do want you back, but we're not getting you at the price that you're at. We can't afford it. And someone put in the chat earlier, like, dude, Jeff, I have been saying this for over 12 months about Taylor Decker, that the Lions cannot afford to move. Like, Klotz wanted him to leave last year, right? I said, Klotz, he's going to be around another year. His opt-out is this year. Like, they're not going to move forward with him after this year. We all knew it. Everyone knew it. And the only way that they would was if there was some sort of contract renegotiation and the price was lowered. And, like, Taylor Decker has to know that. He has to. And, okay, I could see the human side of things where it's like, hey, I just want a call from the guys. Okay. But, like, these guys are going, man. And it's just like Dan said there, like, in the NFL, like, it moves so quick. You get a new coaching job, you don't talk to the other guy. You're on to the next. And you'll see them, you know this, Jeff, you'll see them in Indy at the combine, and you'll probably reach out if they get married, like, congrats, or you'll reach out, how's the family, things like that. But, man, you're not going to just be, like, checking in, like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
No,
like,
no,
dude, that's not it. And like, maybe Brad could have reached out and done it a different way. But if they were in a disagreement, man, like, think about this. A situation like this, you expect them just to reach out to players all the time are like, I just let my agent handle it. All right, if I'm Brad, I'm speaking with your agent about this then. Hey, we want a lower price. So the only argument I could definitely say, like, yeah, maybe they should, like Dan should reach out to Taylor and say something. Dan today did actually say in a different part that he was going to reach out to Decker at some point this offseason, but he's not going to just reach out just to reach out. Like, it would be a genuine, like, hey, how are you? How is your family? How's this? He did mention that today. I just don't see, like, where people are making it a massive deal. I don't think it's as big of a deal as it should be. Like, I talked to Caleb on the phone about it this weekend, and he was like, why is it both sides? What's happening? And I'm like, dude, honestly, like, I could see both sides, but I don't think it's that big of a deal at all.
I think for me, it's not the business side of, hey, take a pay cut. No. Okay, well, we're releasing you. That I agree with. Like, that's the business side. The thing I disagree with is, and I see people in the comments like, well, I worked for this company and these people worked for 10 years and I didn't call them to say goodbye. Like, there's a difference between, and I mean, and I'm just using this as an example. I don't know what the jobs are, working like in a cubicle versus like leaving your body on the line playing football. Like, Taylor Decker's life is altered because of his injuries. Okay. The least you could have done, I'm not saying you got to have regular contact, but just call the guy and be like, hey, appreciate your services. You know, it didn't work out, but, you know, best of luck to you. Like, just one phone call just to be like, hey, we think
put yourself
checked in on the guy.
Well, yeah, Ben Johnson, he also, by the way, he didn't ask for his release from Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson didn't tell him you want less money. Like, Ben Johnson is an outside, who cares? Honestly, when people put out Ben Johnson, like, dude, I could care less if Ben Johnson reached out to him. Like, why is Ben Johnson as a head coach of the Bears like, oh, I'm not doing it
because Ben is a busy schedule. You just mentioned head coaches.
He's doing it to recruit. He's doing it because they don't have a left tackle.
He just said, "How are you doing?"
Jeff, don't be that naive. They don't have a left tackle in Chicago. You don't think he's trying to keep some?
They brought back Braxton Jones. He
literally today in the league meeting said, "We don't know what's going on with our left tackle." He literally said that in team meetings today. He literally said that today.
They're not signing Taylor Decker, bro.
I'm just saying he's keeping the door open. And listen, put yourself in both shoes. If Taylor Decker, we were at the combine when these guys literally said we want Taylor Decker back, and there's obviously going to, we still have to add pieces to help Taylor Decker. And remember when they literally were like, we don't have a decision from Taylor Decker. We need a decision from him, and they're waiting on a decision. Within hours, Jeff, Taylor Decker puts a tweet out, "I'm staying, right? I'm not retiring. I'm in Detroit." Within a week, Taylor Decker's putting something out, "I'm asking for my release." So you're telling me, like really, Jeff, let's connect the dots here. You're telling me that they say they want Taylor back in Detroit, and Taylor Decker's like, "I haven't heard from Brad and Dan." Then why did he all of a sudden just be like, "I want my release"? Why didn't he reach out to them and have a conversation about money with them more specifically, instead of just being like, "I'm going public with this. Screw you guys. I'm going to throw my release out there," without even calling them?
Because
he's the one that put the release out, and they said they were confused why he put it out. So where's the conversation on his end?
They didn't have any contact anyway during that point.
But why would you, Jeff, if I was leaving Crunch Time Sports, if I was leaving Crunch Time one day in the future, and I just randomly said, we're having conversations about something, and I just put out on Twitter, I put my release in to leave Crunch Time Sports, and you just saw it and you're like, what? And I never called you and told you I was going to put that out. And then later I would be like, and then for a month, you don't reach out to me and say anything to me. And then a month later, I do an interview with someone and I go, yeah, Jeff just never reached out to me after. Like, I don't know why he didn't reach out to me.
What?
Where does that make sense?
No, it does make sense because they didn't talk to him before that post, so they were already in the wrong then.
But when these conversations are happening, if he wants his release, why doesn't he have these conversations with why isn't he reaching out? I think it's a two-sided thing. That's why I think it's not that big of a deal. I think both sides are in the spot to where it's one of those things where it's like, hey, man, like, I'm not reaching out if he doesn't reach out. I'm not going to reach out if he doesn't reach out. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like long lost friends. They're like, oh, I haven't heard you from a while. Hey, you haven't called me. Well, it's a two-way road, bud. Like, it's one of those things. And I can't be mad at the Lions the way they handled it. And I can't be mad at Taylor Decker because obviously he just didn't want to take less money. You can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I agree with the Lions from a business standpoint. I think they should have released him. I think it makes the most sense. I just don't agree with how they handled it personally. I think they at least owed him a phone call.
If they didn't talk and if they didn't talk and he just randomly was like, I'm asking for my release, like, why didn't he call them and say, I want to be released, or reach out to them?
Well, why didn't you call him and say you want to give him a pay cut? Be like, this is what's happening.
He did. That's why he asked for his release.
His representative.
Well, the representative, you know this, Jeff, the representatives are the ones that have the conversations about money. And instead of him being like, maybe we could walk the
February 23rd, he told them already, like, hey, this is what it is.
That was probably like an exit meeting.
Well, okay. Brad Holmes should have called the guy. I mean,
I don't know, dude. If you were if you hit me with I'm asking for my release from crunch time and you never told me and you just posted it, I would be like, bro, what? Like, that's how I look at it.
You, in my opinion, you'd be Brad. Okay, you're mad about him posting his release publicly. So you're basically saying that it's just pettiness at that point. You're just like, okay. And he didn't say anything disrespectful in the release. He was just like, hey, I'm asking for my release. This is what it is. Like,
well, no, you would just expect, like, hey, if you are going to ask for your release, like, just reach out to us. Like,
well, I think that's pretty simple. Them at the exit meeting, he's like, I'm not taking a pay cut. So they already knew that. So you're not allowed, if a player says they're not taking a pay cut, or you want this, or like, hey, I want a $100 million raise. Just because I said that in the exit meeting means if I don't get that, then I'm not coming back and I'm going to want to ask for my release. Like, no, like, there's still conversations to be had. Yeah, I agree. There should.
I just don't think like Decker can be and I love Taylor Decker. He's one of my favorite lines of all time. Like, because he's been here for so long. I just don't think, like, this article that came out, I'm fully not in the spot of like, yeah, like he's fully in the right here.
Frank Ragnow, talked to him after Dan. You think they talked to Frank?
Frank retired. And Frank probably, you know what? Frank probably called Dan Campbell personally and said, hey, I'm retiring. He probably called Brad Holmes personally and said, hey, this is my decision. If Taylor's making a decision to want to be released after being with the team for 10 years, in my opinion, you call Brad Holmes, you call Dan Campbell and let them know. You don't just be like GM's jobs are to communicate money through agents, not always players.
I understand.
So like Taylor can't be like, they didn't talk to me about the money. They do that through agents. What are you mad about?
It's he's upset he didn't get. It's the human part of it.
Why did he not reach out and let them know personally he wanted his release then and have a conversation with them?
I don't think that should have offended them so much to where they won't give the guy a call and be like, yo, we get it. It's business at the end of the day. Like,
when you just throw a sneak post out there, like, and Brad even said it was a surprise post. When you just throw a surprise post out there, like, that's why Brad literally told you guys in your interview, he was like, the shocking thing of all of this was the timing of him putting out the post. Like, they were shocked on it. And yeah, you would feel some type of way, a guy that's been there, that you've been so loyal to, that's gone through those injuries and you've stuck with the last 3 years and you paid $20 million at that time of his career. Yeah, you would expect him to give you a call and be a pro and be like, hey, I love you boys. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to look elsewhere and have that conversation. So yeah, I could see why Brad and them were like, yeah, we'll wait to call. We got things to handle. But Taylor going to the media,
Frank did blindside the Lions too.
But he probably called them and told them. He probably didn't just
come out.
Yeah, but I can guarantee you Frank didn't just post the retirement and then not say anything to them. He didn't even have
social media. I don't think he even has social media, so he didn't post nothing.
I think he did post to his Instagram, I thought.
Oh, he does? Yeah, I didn't even know that. Yeah, like I'm not arguing the business side. We can disagree on it. I just think that Brad could have called the guy and been like, thank you for everything, man. You laid it out for this franchise. I get they paid him a lot of money, but it's like, dude, it's just the professional thing to do, I think. And if you disagree with it, then that's fine. Then,
I think Taylor could have just called them first.
I'm going to call Brad and say, can you thank me for my services? Is that what you're saying?
No. If you're asking, dude, Jeff, like, I don't know. I'm confused where the disconnect is. If you're asking for your release from a franchise you're with for 10 years, you're probably going to call the GM and head coach that you've been with and just let them know and have a conversation with them instead of just putting a post out and sitting back and not saying anything.
Dude, it was reported in the article Taylor called Brad. He didn't return his call. It was literally reported.
Oh, if that's the case, then I don't know what to say about that. Then.
That's literally the.
Why did you say that 10 minutes ago, dude?
Well, maybe we were misunderstanding each other, but it said in the article he called Brad. He didn't
because
that's why he's so pissed.
in my mind, Taylor should have reached out to them if he was asking for a release. Like that's not on them. Now, if he did, that's a different story. Like if he didn't reach out to Dan, he can't be mad at Dan. Like he's the one asking for his release.
Yeah, I don't. It says.
But I don't even side with either side. I'm just in the middle being like, why is this a big deal? Like, why is Taylor, in my opinion, in the media even complaining about it? Like, dude, you're probably going to be in the pride of the Lions or whatever it is. Like,
it says he called Brad before he announced his return, and Brad never called him back. So that's why he went to social media and did it. And then even after that, he didn't call him back.
All right. So I don't know. Either way, though, like the Dan Campbell one, like, should reach out to Dan. I don't honestly. I'm in the middle of this. I can see where a little Taylor is. I just don't like the part of like, let's air this out. Like come on, like.
Yeah, it says he talked to Campbell February 23rd. So at least I'll give Campbell more. He did talk to him like a week before or a week and a half before. But Holmes never reached out. Like he called him, didn't call him back. So like that, my gripe is more like, hey Brad, at least you could have just called, dude. You know what I mean? That's where Dan. It's like, okay, you did talk to him February 23rd, but
it's like an ugly. It is. He did say it in the interview too. It's like an ugly breakup in high school. Yeah. Part of that is Taylor Decker speaking to Justin Rogers about that. Like that makes it part of an ugly breakup. Like you don't even need to have those conversations. Just leave it.
I mean, now
like
now it's more public.
You asked for your release and then you spoke to media and did and wanted your word out on it. Like, I think he should, if he wanted to stay, take the pay cut, man.
Yeah, people can disagree with him, like going to the media. It's just it's a lot of petty. I'm not saying like it's petty on. There's a lot of pettiness in this thing. I'm not saying that it's all Brad Holmes or Taylor. It's just like, I guess it is news. The only reason why it's news is because the Lions. Usually you don't hear like there hasn't been like this type of situation. Usually they're like you don't hear about this stuff. So maybe that there is frustration. It's like, oh, there, it's news.
But there was obviously something on the back end that's not being said or we don't know, because Dan Campbell did say in this interview today that he spoke with David Montgomery when all that happened, when he got traded. So Dan's obviously speaking with guys when they leave to have that convo, and he spoke with David. So there was obviously some sort of disconnect or something that they didn't see eye to eye on or didn't agree with. And then obviously, here we go. We're connecting the dots. Why else would Taylor want to go to the media and say something? There was obviously something on the back end.
Yeah, he's still pissed for some. I don't know. There's probably more that we don't even know. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. People, you can go read the full article, Detroit Football Network. But it's I don't know, man. It was at least confirmed he ain't coming back. So. No return. Maybe a one-day contract at some point. So I know we asked Brad, and he's like, never say never. It's probably never, unless it's a one-day contract. So start move, which is fine. Again, I'm not going to argue the football standpoint. Like they got to get younger at tackle anyway. They should draft a tackle, or you just hide Larry Bourne, whatever it is. We got to get to our mocks. We have our mock drafts today. It's mock draft Monday, and you actually sent me your mock. Me and you, some of these weeks, bet in lockstep with some of these picks without even knowing each other's picks. So I don't know if it's the type of vibe that week. Me and you were kind of in lockstep, or what's going on. It's good. I think it's a good thing because like we're going to align on a lot of things. We have different players, of course, but this week, the way I described it, and I don't know if you approach it, I saw you kind of approach it the same way, is I think going forward, I'm going to start trading up in like the mid rounds, being aggressive, more deals. Cause I think that's what's going to happen. I think there's going to be some deals Brad makes in like day 2, day 3, where he has all these picks on the back end. I think he's going to try and move up and take players.
Yeah. That's what I think. Like what they have 9 or 10 picks. They've never, I've said it before. They've never had or picked, I think like more than 8 guys in a draft. So I obviously think they're going to move around a little bit. They're going to be, active in this draft, you would think. I think that comes in between that second, third, fourth round where they're going to try and come up and get. I think it's a talented, deep draft class with a lot of players that can, make impacts on teams. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of all-pro Hall of Famers in this draft class, but there's a lot of solid starters. So And I will say too, I texted you this today. I purposely, because if you do look at our last like 2 or 3 mock draft Mondays, I purposely do not watch your video on Mondays. I try and avoid your mock draft at all costs because I don't want it to affect how I'm going to approach mine, to where whether that's like I do it differently than you or try not to pick the same players, or if I like a player you did, I'm going to take him. I try not to do any of that. This is the 3rd week in a row I think me and you have like almost identical. I don't know who I know who your first round pick is because we have the same one and you text me and you're like, Boone. I don't know about the rest, but like last week we almost had like the exact like 6 or 7 same players. And the week before we had like 3 or 4 players that were the exact same. And they were players that we never drafted before. It just happened. I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I'll
do you want me to go first since you already did yours?
Yeah, fire it away. Mine comes out tomorrow by the people. We had a lot of stuff happen today, Dan Campbell stuff. So me and Boone's are coming out tomorrow. For those who missed the show, you can watch.
Oh, so you haven't even given yours out yet?
No, I have not. It's already recorded, but it's scheduled tomorrow. So tomorrow's mock draft day, unless something else happens. You'll mix in some stuff, but yeah, take it away. Tell me what you decided to do here and why it's an amazing first round pick. Just talk to me.
Yeah, you could stop me at any point, Jeff, if there's questions or you want to comment on it.
Yep.
Mock draft 7.0 though. I tried to do something different. I tried to just go at 17. I didn't want to trade up. I didn't want to trade back. I just thought in my mind, like, let's just go BPA. Like, who is the best player on the board in the moment? And we talked about this last week on Mock Draft Monday, to where if you do go BPA, there's a very, very high chance that Vega's at 17, and everyone would probably agree that Vega is potentially one of the best players or best offensive lineman, if not the best in this draft class. And the only reason he's going to fall is because he's a guard, right? An interior.
Yep.
Which, there's different value when it comes to tackles and guards. So I think the Vega at 17, Dan today even talked about just bringing in guys to compete on the O-line. And I know a lot of people are sitting here talking about offensive tackle. Listen, the best tackles are off the board at 17 in this one. I could have traded back and gone Blake Miller or, Caden Proctor. I could have stayed at 17 and take one of those guys. I said, give me the best offensive lineman in this draft class. Give me Vega. That offensive line is going to be solidified. And you could figure out this right tackle spot. You'll see later in the draft, I draft the tackle. You could figure it out next year. You could figure it out in the offseason. You could figure this thing out. You could just get by with Larry Borum and maybe, Miles Frazier, whatever you need to do. At 59, I actually traded back, Jeff, at 50. Because what I realized, too, is there is a lot of talent in this second round. You can trade back in this second round, and you can add another pick, from 80 to 70, like around then, 60s, and add another pick to trade back with the talent, because a lot of people are going to be wanting to move up. So I did at 59. I traded back. I got Keontae Scott. This is Klotz's guy. I'll give Klotz the credit on this one, but I think a lot of people know who Keontae Scott is now moving forward. He really is. He's played a lot in the slot for Miami. And I think in the NFL, you're looking at a very, very similar thing with him. The one thing, and you've noticed this, Jeff, with a lot of my picks over the last few weeks, especially with the secondary, just versatile guys.
Yeah.
He could play nickel. If you need to throw him at safety, if you need to throw him outside, like wherever he can, like he's played at some point every one of those positions in college. And it's the same thing with, I drafted another secondary player in this draft class. It's the same thing with him, where it's like you kind of just heard Dan say it today about how they're trying to just get guys that can move around in the secondary because they just haven't been that good at corner, and they want to be more flexible is the word that he used. So I think Keontae Scott is that guy. And like Klotz said, he kills people on the field. And whatever I've been saying about this defense, Jeff, want guys that just want to kill dudes. Like Brian Branch, he just wants to take dudes' heads off. He's angry. He's mad. He plays angry. Same with Jack Campbell. Same with Hutch. But you don't have a lot of those guys on this defense. I think Keontae Scott adds to that. You can scroll down now. Trade it up. I just saw someone say, Dana just said, is Anthony Hill Jr. gone at 59? I was not planning on drafting Anthony Hill, Jeff, at 69. I traded up to 69 when I traded back from 59. I also added that pick. and I gave up like the 120 something. I gave up, I think, next year's 4th or something like that. I can't remember the exact trade. I was just more so planning on being like BPA at 69. Like I was like,
he's the best player available.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm going to go BPA. Whoever's available. I just have essentially at remember what I said at the beginning of this. This draft for me was BPA. Like I'm just going to go BPA, especially the first like 3 or 4 picks. So that was why I got Vega, Keontae Scott, and then 69, dude. Anthony Hill Jr. sitting there. You're looking at adding a linebacker, or you need more depth there after losing Anzo. I've picked Anthony Hill Jr. I think 3 straight drafts now. I think this is a perfect fit for what they're looking for, especially if you're a team that, you're a Lions team that wants to play base. You do want to be flexible, and Anthony Hill Jr. fits right in instantly, dude. And you don't know what Derek Barnes is right now. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade.
Anthony Hill is a Pro Bowl level linebacker in year like 2 or 3. He's going to be really good.
Yeah,
I love him. He's great value.
And then at 118, and I did see someone. Fan Man said you can't get out of the top 100 without a defensive tackle this year. Honestly, again, you just drafted a 1st-round draft pick in Tyler.
Did you mean defensive end or defensive?
Maybe end, but if you meant end, remember when I said earlier in the show, Lions don't value an edge rusher outside of their first edge.
Well, this is Booner, so
yeah.
Maybe Booner doesn't.
No, I took that. Listen, this is Brad Holmes' approach today. I went BPA straight, and I don't value edge. So that's why I went with this. 118, Bud Clark. You guys already know I love Bud Clark. You can play a lot of different positions in the secondary. You can move around. Ball hawk. Just a football player all around. I'll go quicker here. 157, Austin Barber. This is a tackle, Jeff. Have you heard of Austin Barber?
I saw him. I remember him at the combine. I don't watch Austin. I think he was the left tackle on the other side. Or no, he's a left tackle or right
left tackle. He started the last 3 years at Florida, left tackle. Good in the run game.
Played with Slaughter. Good old Jake Slaughter.
Yes.
Over there.
And he kind of I think if I remember correctly, I think he thrives in the run game. Like he's actually Tim Twentyman actually wrote an article a couple weeks ago, Jeff, and that was when I first heard of Austin Barber really. And he wrote an article that was like the best offensive tackle in every round of the NFL draft for the Lions. And in the 5th round, he actually had Austin Barber. And I was reading more about him, and he was like, listen, there were games last year where he was an elite tackle. But he actually, Tim Twentyman put in there, he said there was the Texas A&M game, Florida, Texas A&M, where they were like, probably should have taken Austin Barber out. He was so bad. So that there's a little downside, but I'm telling you, a 3-year starter, you're talking about at 157, you're just looking to get a guy in here who can just develop, and you can see if he kind of can plug and play, right? You can move him to right. Listen, I don't care about moving a left tackle to right tackle. People hate it. I don't care. Penei Sewell did it. Don't care. Throw Austin Barber at right tackle for all I care.
Hey, by the way, he passes the name test, if anyone was wondering.
All right.
Hey, you got Austin Barber and Jake Slaughter on the same O-line at Florida.
A 183. I'm gonna go quicker on these last 2 because we've talked about him before. 183, Tanner Koziel out of Utah. We've already talked about him. Big body tight end. Essentially kind of like a tight end that's like a receiver. Will go out and run route, get good route running, and we saw at the Senior Bowl, the man went up and got one over someone. So he's kind of a playmaker, but you just got to work on his blocking. And then out of Duke, I've talked about him before, but if I'm just being honest with Vincent Anthony Jr., I was more so at the point where I was like, I know people want an edge rusher.
You have to take it.
And I was like, if I'm in the mind of Brad Holmes right now and I'm sitting at 222 and it's my last pick, Brad's gonna be like, I just got to get one for the people so they don't hate me. So I just went Vincent Anthony Jr. He was BPA. He was best edge available on the board. That was essentially it.
Well, drop your grades for Booner's mock here. I'll say you drafted some really good players. I mean, your first 4 picks, like this has. I'm not
want starters.
Hear me out on this. I'm not saying it's the 2023 draft class, but like in terms of players, you could have 4 guys that are like studs. Like these 4 guys, like if they play for you year 1, you could be like, yeah. Like people, listen, I'm in the camp where it's like I want a defensive end. I get it, but players you drafted in the first 4 picks are, I mean, even sprinkled in like a tackle, Tanner Koziel, you got a defensive end. Would you like them earlier? Sure. But like you got 4 guys that are like future players, like for you. Like I mean, these guys are all going to be future really good players, in my opinion. Vega, Keontae, Anthony Hill, and Bud Clark. Yeah, that's a solid 4 picks right there. I think if we were watching this draft, we'd be like, oh, and then like the next pick would happen, we'd be like, oh, and then we just keep going every pick, the first 4 picks. We would just be slamming the table, excited. So, yeah, this is a good draft. I think our approach. I mean, you kind of mentioned it. The first round pick might be the same, and we were kind of in lockstep there because I decided to kind of do the same route as you. I'm not going to speak too long on it, but me and you were in lockstep. Like 17, you're in a position here where it's like, am I reaching for a right tackle or a left? Or it's really a right tackle because I need one, or am I trying to take the best player available? And I decided to go with the best player available. We're going to hide Larry Borum. That's what we're going to do. We're going to hide Larry Borum and get Vega and Penei.
It's like where's Waldo? Where's Larry?
Yeah, where's Larry? You're hiding him on the right. Again, I get you can't hide him all the time. But yeah, we're putting him at left guard. In the new Kevin Zeitler Penei run to the right side, we're running to the left side with Penei and Vega. So I'm a big fan of him in the first round. Second round pick, I went with Malachi Lawrence. I've been talking about him a lot. I didn't trade back. I decided to stay there and take the player I thought was the best player there. And I got Malachi Lawrence. Great pass rusher. We talk about the production. I always mention it when I talk about him. I mean, I just love the consistency with him. 8.5 sacks. This year, 8.5 sacks. The prior year, he's not the run defender, elite run defender, but probably more capable with coaching and technique work. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 270. So he's not 250. He's heavier than Al-Quadid Muhammad, and he can rush the passer consistently. I mean, you go watch his tape at the Baylor game. He played Baylor and ruined that game. So he's a really good player there. And then at 91, I traded up here in my next 2 picks. I traded up. Probably could have waited for Bud Clark, but I've been talking about this in the past. Like I just been going up and getting dudes that I want to draft. I just don't even want to wait. And I decided to trade up. I packaged like 118 and like a late pick and moved up to 91, moved up basically 30 spots, 20, 30 spots to go get Bud Clark out of TCU, especially with the Kirby stuff. You just need, this defense needs playmakers bad on defense, and Bud Clark can do that consistently. And he would fit perfectly given we don't know what's going on with Kirby and the future of him. So you have some security there. And even if not, I think there's a spot for him. Definitely. So Bud Clark was the next selection. J.C. Davis is the tackle I decided to draft. He's looked at as a very good tackle in this draft, more of probably a day 3 pick, but early day 3 pick. Started a lot of games at Illinois, and J.C. Davis allowed, I think last year when I was looking into him, 18 total pressures, 3 sacks and 2 hits allowed. Only flagged once for a penalty this past season. He's, like you said, the Austin Barber, very good run blocker, not a bad pass blocker, but he's just a guy you're taking. He fits the role. He's a left tackle. He can play right tackle if you need him to. This is kind of like the Penei Sewell thing. I made this before the Penei Sewell news came out, so I don't know if that changes. Maybe
is JC? Just question: is JC Davis is he better than Austin Barber? Or because I think J.C. Davis was available at 150 something when I picked, and I went Austin Barber.
Yeah,
instead.
He's looked at as like a. I mean, he was rated out of tackles the 6th highest tackle on PFF.
Okay, so maybe I should win J.C. Davis then.
So he's a very good, but he's kind of like Austin Barber, where he had some games. You know what I mean? Like he had a game against Penn State where he looked like Giovanni Manu, but. He looked like in other games, like he played really well. And in the big games, he didn't look as good. So he's more developmental. He's not starting day 1, but you're taking him at 125 to kind of be the backup tackle. And then at 181, honestly, a pick that I love. I love Andre Fuller. The more I watch him, shout out to the Fuller
Toledo.
Lukas Klotz. Andre Fuller. I bet he knows about Andre Fuller.
DBU.
This dude is going to be a day 3 pick. And I don't know what's going on in the water, all right, over in Toledo. I don't know what they're drinking. I don't know what they're eating. I don't know what's going on in the 419. These DBs are very good. coming out of the 419. And they already have the first-round safety this year. And Andre Fuller is a corner that's going to be drafted this year. He's 6'2", for all the tall corner people out there. And he's a very, very good cover corner. We've heard that before. Obviously doesn't pass the athletic test that Quinyon Mitchell did, where he was drafted in the first round. But he's a very, very good cover corner, 6'2". And I think they need to take a corner at some point, maybe late in the draft. And you get Andre Fuller at 181, player that I really like and I was happy with. At 213, I took Jack Kelly, linebacker out of BYU. They hadn't really get anything out of Derek Barnes when it comes to rushing the passer. And I think Jack Kelly can do just that. Okay.
Very versatile too. He covers the Pistons.
Yeah, he actually does. Yeah. Shout out to the Aussie. Jack Kelly can rush the passer, maybe not the best in coverage, but if you need let's say you're running Jack at Mike, Derek at Will, and then you could have Jack Kelly at Sam, and he can rush the passer and actually get home 10 sacks this year at BYU, 5 sacks the year prior. So I think he's in good special teams. I mean, you're drafting a guy at 213. He's got to be able to play special teams. And then I took Jack Velling, tight end. That's kind of how I felt about your edge thing. I was like, I got to take a tight end at some point. And Jack Velling, he's a special teamer. He's a tight end. You're throwing him in the room to compete. So not really much to break down. Did go to MSU. So if there's any MSU fans in there in the chat, they're probably fired up. I don't know about Jack Velling. Someone just said, JC's Jack Velling is Brock Wright with better hands and stronger. Okay, there you go. Cool. But yeah, this is my draft. I took an edge higher, but I didn't get as good of quality linebacker as you did. I mean, I waited till 213 to take Jack Kelly. I think Anthony Hill's better than Jack Kelly.
Yeah. I think it's just the value more so, like if you get down to the, past 180, you're trying to get a linebacker. But we kind of had similar approaches, mid-round tackle. You know what I mean? I took a corner. I think I missed one position I think you took. Tight end, you didn't. Oh no, you did take a tight end. You took a corner. Sorry. You took a corner. Sorry. Yeah. I did. Yeah, you took a corner higher. Yeah. I think we actually have pretty similar, actually, to be honest. Honestly, because I went guard. The only difference is you went edge early. I went corner earlier, and then I went safety and. Yeah, you took a corner linebacker earlier, higher, but yeah, pretty similar drafts. Which honestly, I think it's going to line up the way the Lions fans want it to line up. I think there's going to be best player available and positions of need. It just keeps lining up that way based on the coverage of the draft. You know what I mean? I just think a lot of these guys are going to be really good players. So, yeah, watch out, man. Watch out. And again, Keontae Scott, another guy. I think if you're looking in the future, to mention Keontae Scott again, Dan Campbell talking about flexibility, like you said, Roger McCreary's on a 1-year deal. So yeah, they both and Izzy too. They're both 1-year deals. It's not a bad idea. It's kind of like the Tyleek pick. It's like, yeah, you're not drafting for need, but you're not getting DJ Reader after this year. Roy Lopez was a 1-year deal. DJ Reader had one left. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense. Dio donated 5. I forgot to read this earlier, 8:47. So we're about an hour late. That's on me, Dio. I think we have to just accept that this is an offensive-minded regime. We have selected good defensive players, but them as a unit, ... doesn't click. I mean, they had 2 All-Pros in their front 7 and couldn't stop the run. So it's not even about the good players. It's about the collective unit. I mean, the Lions actually have better, like the Lions, if you took Jack Campbell and Aiden Hutchinson, just take those 2 guys, you can line those 2 up in your front 7. Look at any other front 7 in the NFL. They can go toe-to-toe with most front 7s with just those 2 guys. But it's about the others, There's other defenses that are more complete. That's what it is. You have all around, players. Man. Yeah, it's all around. It's I get you have talent, like when Brian Branch is healthy and Kirby's healthy, and you have Jack and Aiden, but like you said, edge 2, your other linebackers, your corners, like there's just I know you can't have a perfect defense. I get that, but you need guys that are just good at what they do. That's it. Yeah, takes all 11. Like Tim said, drop your mailbag questions too. That's why I just think, and I've said it for a while now this offseason, I do understand the approach of like, hey, we have our guys. We like Dan said today, like it's tough to the positions that we have, it's tough to get those guys, quarterback, receiver, running back, tackle, edge rusher, linebacker, safety. Like it's hard to get dudes in those positions. But I just think the balance that has to come a little bit is man, you need 1 through 11 on both sides of the ball, right? And when you do have so many guys that are very top end heavy, it makes your team top end heavy. And then you're 6 through 11, you're 7 through 11 on each side of the ball isn't close to even as good as your top 5 or 6 players on each side of the ball. And that it doesn't always, just because you have a bunch of stars doesn't always make your team great. You need a team as a whole. You need 22 dudes. And when you're top heavy, man, you do have a lot more weak links. And I think that's where somewhere with the Lions do have to realize a little bit. That's why when, I'm saying I don't think they prioritize the edge too. Like that's a fact. They don't. And that's been a weak link. And maybe they have to sacrifice at a different position to be able to make that link a little bit stronger. I don't know, but that's how I look at it.
Tim, appreciate the Crunch Time membership. Much love to you, my friend. By the way, someone just put in there. Was it Dio? Y'all both liking Vega, huh? Y'all want to hide Borum's flaws. I mean, it's hard not to like him. The guy allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and had 4 pressures this past year. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good, dude. Pretty good. Burning issues mailbag. How do you feel if the Lions went linebacker DB with their first 2 picks? Ooh, I mean,
I would not. I think you have to go O-line in the first.
If you don't have a D end or an O lineman in the first 2 picks, I'm pissed. One of one. I would.
What would you say though if they did what I said, back-to-back O linemen?
I would be mad. That's the exception. I know I just contradicted myself, but that's the exception. If you go back-to-back O-line, like if you get an O-lineman and then you maybe get like a linebacker, it's like, man, I wanted an edge, but it's like, I get it. Like, I mean, at least we got an O-lineman. I want an edge though. But if you went O-line, it's, I don't know about that. I don't know. I wouldn't love it. Like hypothetically, I guess if they got like Vega and traded up for Blake Miller, it's a good, like those are 2.
Dude, that's a great.
It is. It's just like, man,
that's such a good draft.
It's like at least we can protect Jared when we're giving up 30 a game. You know what I mean?
Well, like, is Malachi Lawrence at edge as good as Blake Miller will be at tackle? Probably not.
I mean, I would say.
Brad's like 0 for a billion drafting edge rushers or just D linemen in the second round.
I just base my thoughts, not like because I agree with this thought process. Daniel Jeremiah and many others are looking at this draft as the top 100, more so top 50.
Yeah.
But there's so many good edges, and I just think if you don't leave, or good defensive players, and if you don't leave top 100 good defensive players, if you don't leave with one of those guys, I'd prefer it at 50.
I just can't, honestly. And maybe this is just a me problem, dude. I just can't go through another year being like, we're getting an edge in the first 2 rounds, and it's just not happening again. I'm not setting myself up for that. I'm going to be a little more open-minded this year, because last year was one of the more like diabolical moments in the last 5 years covering the draft for us.
Spencer says, what's unrealistic is that the fans expect our entire O-line to be all pro when our defense is gasping for air. I mean, yeah, that's a good way to, I mean, I get it. O-line's important. They're both important. The trenches are important, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'd be curious to see. I mean, I guess it could line up with BPA if another offensive lineman's there, but.
By the way, as Schefter tweeted out while we were live, said the Seahawks will be featured in this summer's Hard Knocks. And then next year in 2027, the Patriots will be featured will be the summer Hard Knocks. The 2 teams in the past season Super Bowl will take center stage in the next 2 summers.
Is that new?
Yeah, because the Hard Knocks rule used to be you have to have like a certain, like under a certain amount of wins. It'd be like 6 missed playoffs, like 6 or less wins, whatever it was. They always wanted they switched it up. They changed the rule for it because so many teams that were like bad didn't want to do it. They were like, we don't want to, like, we're trying to build back and we have these cameras all over us. So I think they opened it up to everyone. and they took the requirements away. That's sick to be able to see the Seahawks get ready after winning a Super Bowl. That's actually so interesting.
I like it. Lucas says, Booner, are you happy Michigan's now a basketball school?
No, actually, what the crazy thing is we're an everything school. We have our hockey team in the Frozen Four. I think the last I saw, our women's basketball team played Texas today. They were down a lot. They lost by 30, but they were in the Elite Eight.
They were in the Elite Eight.
We just won a football national championship a few years ago, and we're in the Final Four again for basketball. We're an everything school. There's no like basketball, football. We're an everything school. Talk about versatility. Nothing you don't know anything about that.
Shut up, Klotz, man.
Said Owls football the last 20 years. We won a national championship in the last 5 years, dude. Who cares how many? We just won one. Could care less.
Klotz, it's tough for you to talk. I mean, I get it. You guys
when was the last time Ohio State was in a Final Four? Did Evan Turner even go to a Final? Oh, they went to a Final Four with Greg Oden. When was that? What was that, like 2002?
Yeah, that was like over a decade ago. Greg Oden.
2012. Sorry, dude. Sick.
Hey, we appreciate you all. Hit the
You guys
like
won
button.
an NIT tournament. Congrats on that, bud.
Get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. And of course, check out our other videos and check out our social medias, which is in the description below. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Be there. But until then,
love you guys.
Peace.